Oh wow, so almost half. So if you're not aware, this is actually a center where we display our culture of the US, but we also have a library upstairs with over 12,000 books. We do regular programming almost on a weekly basis on all sorts of issues. So if you have time after the event, I encourage you to go around, take a look at our building, maybe join our library as a member, and if you have any questions, you can always come talk to any of us. So I know you came to listen to inspiring women today, not me. So I just wanted to welcome you this morning, but with that, I'll pass the microphone to Nanya. Yep, thank you.
Very good morning to all of you. I'm Ananya Bhattacharya. I'm director of Contact Base. We are more known as banglanatak.com. That's our trading style. We have been working for now more than 2 decades in Southeast Asia for fostering inclusive and sustainable development using culture-based approaches. So we in our network have more than 60,000 folk artists and craftspeople, and we are developing what we call the grassroots creative economy and cultural tourism. So in our journey, we realized that entrepreneurship brings in social and cultural values apart from the obvious economic ones. And after COVID, 19% from pre-COVID of 24%. We also have here people from Bangladesh, Nepal, and USA. In Bangladesh and Nepal, the data is perhaps better, but if we talk of leadership, there is still a lacuna. US Consul General Kolkata has been a very valued partner. We have now worked for more than a decade on issues ranging from gender and child rights, promotion of peace and cultural diversity. So we have been working for more than 6 years with the consulate to promote entrepreneurship as a career choice. After the COVID, as we reached out to our networks, we realized that one thing they all said, and that is they do not have access to mentors. They do not have access to networks of support. Today's program, we are calling today's program #Empower Women at Work. Now, what is empowerment? Empowerment is about skills, empowerment is about knowledge, and empowerment is about access to resources. And that is where mentoring and networking, they're extremely important. In today and tomorrow, our whole objective is to discuss with you what are the mentoring requirements you have, what are the networking challenges you are facing, and we have with us several stakeholders in women empowerment in South Asia and USA who are offering different kinds of support. See, networking is sometimes transactional. Say you are doing a business and you want to know about a tax or a legal problem, so whom to reach out to. Mentoring is transformational. So sometimes you need access to a senior person who can guide you in your journey. So our objective is twofold here. And to share with all of you, I'm going to introduce all of you later, but we have chambers, we have networks, we have associations here, we have women entrepreneurs from diverse segments, and we have investors, and we have skill development organizations. So in this room, we are a powerful group. So today and tomorrow, we'll all discuss about how to bring in the transformation. So thank you all for coming, and thanks to US Consul General Kolkata for giving this wonderful support. And I'd now like to invite our US Consul General Melinda Pavek to say a few words.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome. It is a pleasure to be here with all of you today. I feel honored to represent the United States, a country that strongly believes in women's empowerment and an administration that calls for diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in all of our endeavors. I absolutely believe that the collective and consistent effort of all of us will help us to achieve these goals. In the United States, we have made significant progress in recent years to increase women's footprint in the workplace. We have implemented policies such as paid family leave, flexible work arrangements, and equal pay laws to support working women. As a result, more women are entering the workforce, and they are advancing to leadership positions in greater numbers. But we all know that there is much more work to be done. Women around the world continue to face significant barriers to their full participation in the workforce, including discrimination, lack of access to education and training, and the burden of unpaid care work. These barriers are even more pronounced in developing countries such as India, where the women's labor force participation rate remains low. Okay, let's guess. How many people know what the women's labor force participation rate is in India? 20%? Well, globally, it's higher than that, but bing bong, sorry, I don't have my sound as but yes, it is. In India, it is officially 20.3%. Globally, it is 47.1%. And that compares to the men's rate of 74.2%. Now, I want to talk about the 20.3% number though, because that undercounts the number of women in India that are working, right? It undercounts them because it is only the official labor statistics. And we know that many women in India work in the informal sector. And those working women aren't counted necessarily in those statistics. So women are working, but they're not being counted. That's not fair. We're working at home, but our work at home is not being included in GDP. That's not fair. All of these things are things that we, as women and allies in the room, need to work on changing. Studies have shown that increasing women's participation in the workforce can have significant economic benefits. A report by McKinsey & Company found that advancing gender equality could add $12 trillion to global GDP by 2025. $12 trillion. Currently, India has a goal of having a $5 trillion economy. India is huge and growing, and still the impact of having women counted in economic benefits in an equal way is $12 trillion, 2.5 times the goal that India has for its own economy. US Vice President Kamala Harris strongly advocates for a world that works for women. Such a world will not be possible without the concerted efforts of women, men, and non-binary persons. We need voices like ours to advocate for equal pay, equal sharing of unpaid care and domestic work, an end to sexual harassment and all forms of violence against all people, healthcare services that respond to the unique needs of women, girls, transgender, and non-binary persons, and equal participation in political life and decision-making in all areas of life for all people. With this in mind, we look to you to create a more diverse global landscape around the world. This broader effort is advanced when we work together to address women's barriers and create more opportunity for women to succeed in the workforce. This benefits not only women, but their families, communities, the economy, and society as a whole. Why is that? Because women pay attention to the broader community. We always have. We have been more influenced by what's going on around us because of our positions of inequality, because of our positions of stress, because of the challenges that we faced. We can leverage that by becoming the people that are the powers and the influencers, and to help not only ourselves, but everyone around us. To increase women's footprint in the workforce, there are 4 specific acts I call for today. Number 1, we need to create an enabling environment that supports women's employment. This includes policies that address discrimination, promote equal pay, and provide access to education and training. Number 2, we must ensure that women have access to the resources and support they need to succeed in the workspace, in the workforce. This includes affordable childcare, flexible work arrangements, and mentorship programs, and is a lot of what we're trying to do here today. Number 3, we must change cultural norms and attitudes that perpetuate gender inequality in the workplace and broader society. This includes challenging gender stereotypes, promoting diversity and inclusion, and encouraging men to become allies in the fight for gender equality. If we only focus on changing women, we are only focusing on half of the equation. But really, we shouldn't have to focus on changing women. Women are an equal part of society. We don't have to change. Society needs to change in order for all of us to have a place where we can bring our full selves to the workplace and to our society. Number 4, we need to change cultural norms that encourage men to suppress their emotions and ignore their feelings. We need boys to learn how to live in a world where they're equal partners with girls, where they feel comfortable talking about their own bodily sanctity, their puberty and emotions and male menopause, because we know male menopause is real, and their experiences with bullying and harassment. Changing gender stereotypes is about empowering us all to be our best selves throughout our lives and lived experiences, and not a means of suppressing one segment of the population in favor of another. That's not what we're trying to achieve. This event is one of many efforts across the region that continues our partnership with local organizations to focus on raising awareness and motivating action toward revised policy frameworks, safer work environments, continued education, and equal compensation. For our part, we will continue to contribute to the strengthening of this framework across the South Asian region as a dialogue, and look forward to continued regional synergies and collaborations. So thank you, Ananya Bhattacharya and the contact-based team for partnering with the U.S. Consulate here in Kolkata to bring together a dynamic group of advocates and partners who strongly believe in and advocate for women's equality around the world. Thank you all for being here with your energy, your excitement, your ideas, your power, your strength, your courage. Together we can all change the world. So thank you for being here with us.
You sound like me, but here I am. It's such a pleasure and a privilege to be here. My only point of frown here is that I wish there were more men in the room. When we speak on these issues, and the issues are typical across the board. It doesn't matter whether we are located in Kolkata, in the sub-region of South Asia, or Indo-Pacific, or the issues at various levels. Of course, there's an urban disconnect, there's a village disconnect, and all of that. But it really, and I know that let me just start with the Asia Pacific, where again I'm not going to bore you all with statistics because numbers are always there. But the very fact that we are here discussing, and again very, very grateful to the US Consulate because this is probably my second program with them and with Ananda, and I'm really happy that they are stakeholders who are constantly pushing it. But the unfortunate bit in life is that there are not too many. It's also a fact, post-pandemic, life has been very difficult for everyone. Whether it's a corporate sector or the NGO sector at university levels. And for any of this to actually happen, funding becomes a big issue. But it's also a fact that pandemic has also taught us to, overcome these problems. A lot of the networking that I would try and focus in the next few minutes is also about how we are able to, connect without physically managing it, without trying to do a huge, fund issues. But even if you're just looking at the Asia Pacific, and again, a whole lot of with the geographical construct, my mainstay, I would say, my main interest has always been foreign policy, so I'll focus a bit of that about women in foreign policy. We've seen that right now there is a huge strategic interplay on political security issues, economic issues. In fact, we also talk about Indo-Pacific economic framework, which has 4 pillars, which also has a green pillar, economy and supply chain. But none of that, and I looked a bit deeply, has any sector or vertical which includes women exclusively. There is no inclusion of them in terms of the sectoral issues, and no inclusion in them in terms of ideational issues. So this is, the fact that we are here is, I think, a great thing. But the point is, any of these new constructs that are coming, like this wouldn't have happened when we were 10 years old. We had zero awareness of this gender sensitization. We've certainly come a long way from where we had started. But at the same time, when we're looking at the new constructs that are appearing across, we still find very little gender resonance. So even at that level, and I think that IPF, that the economic framework that I discussed, that I just briefly mentioned, the pillars are being kind of organized. There are 14 countries who've signed up for it. India, I think, has stayed away a bit, but that's Indian nature. A bit hesitant by usual ways that we are. We are not agreeable on the agro trade. We have issues there. But at the same time, whether it's India, whether it's New Zealand, whether the US, I do not see a reflection of women. By default, there may be somebody there, but it hasn't been made as a mandatory affair, which is something I think every leader, every person in this room, we need to align ourselves a little bit. We are aware of the fact that it's not only just about women participation. We are aware of the fact that I think these are well-known statistics that 70% of the labor in terms of the wages are aligned against women. So if you're doing the same work, you're not being paid. And this is not the government sector, only government sector you are. In India, I feel the only sector which works in some ways pretty much reasonably so is the government sector. The women are not discriminated against. There is a kind of a slight affirmative action, I would say, because often you'll find a line which says that we encourage women to apply. That's not true for any other sectors. I especially mentioned South Asia. I look a little bit closely at Bangladesh, which is a case in point, which in fact stands out as the light bulb in the region in terms of the way they've been able to empower gender, they've been able to get women on every particular. But whether it's Nepal, whether it's Bhutan, whether it's India, we still lag behind. Not only that, it's also about skilling. It's also about so many sectors. So it's good to see Shobhini here and others here who are part of sectors where women is in minuscule numbers. That's something, again, that effort has not been ever put in again by both, as I said, the corporate sector, the private sector, or the NGO sector. There has also been an issue about how we are not able to, and I come from a university where we are trying to see that young professors with children have a creche alongside, but that's not again a norm in our country, not in a norm in South Asia. In South Asia, when Anuna was telling her about how we need to build regional networks, we've been talking about regionalism in the region ever since we were born, I think. 85, the first regional organization came into being. Till date, there is not one simple takeaway that we've had on regional networks. We are struggling with BVIN, which is Bangladesh, India, Bhutan, Nepal. It's a simple road motor vehicle agreement that we talked about, which we're still not able to sign. So obviously politics overwhelm a whole lot of issues here. Politics overwhelm women issues here too, very strongly so. In terms of how, I was just recently in back-to-back trips in South Asia, both in Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, elsewhere. We were talking about how while other sectors haven't worked, why is the academic sector not working together? So in fact, at this point of time, we are trying to initiate a credit course amongst the South Asian universities, where we also made it, we are trying to drop a main line. where women should be part of the board, the governing board. Even again, on sheer statistics, we've seen how women, some corporate sectors have made it mandatory. But I've always been part of university boards and governing body. I've always been the single woman sitting there, which also means a whole lot of things because you don't have access to proper, washrooms. The males in room generally don't know what behavior is supposed to be when a woman is sitting there. All kinds of things happen in this region, and this is educated men I'm talking about. This is the men with PhDs and advanced degrees. So this is in that kind of room. Imagine what happens in the rural disconnect. I was born and brought up in Bengal, so all of us, we have exposure to the left liberal, which I think is part of every DNA of a person born in West Bengal. But for the 30 years of my life, I worked in Delhi. The DNA is a complete extreme there. But even then, this whole thing about women, understanding women, giving the role of the woman should start at a tertiary level of education. It does not and cannot happen when we are at this level of profession, because that whole personal ideology, the personal perceptions, and again it's all about perceptions because there's some wonderful advertisement these days about happening where they show about men being in agender roles, but that's only capturing a minuscule of the population in South Asia and elsewhere. We still have very ingrained society that this is the job of the woman. While I'm the last one to talk about the difference of physicality and the fact that emotional content that a woman brings often to the table is often missing when it's a men issue. But the fact that even at the school level, children have not been exposed. At our years, we were of course not. Even today, when I look around, when I check, there has been zero exposure to gender sensitization. So both even in today's South Asia, we have a very gender stereotype, code of conduct that's happening. For women also, there are very few role models, which is again a problem in terms of how you're going to aspire yourselves to be. So, it's always a very, very typical thing about South Asia is that, of course, in urban centers, that education is something stressed upon. But post that, that's not the priority again. It's only recently minuscule of urban population. Again, in South Asia, urban population is largely 1% to 2% in most of the 4 or 5 cities that we are talking about. The larger rural scope is always about how, of course, safety issues, personal priority issues have been brought in, but again, it's not good enough. I think at some level, again, it's only that much that a government sector can do. The problem, again, in most cases are, and again, statistics tell you that there are actually laws and legal reforms in place. They do not happen as per. Even when there is on paper, unless you actually take it to the board and say, on paper you were supposed to address this, they say, oh, sorry, we didn't know about it. That's something that I've faced all my life. Secondly, the people who are responsible for the legislations are actually men here in South Asia. So how do you expect them to have gender sensitivity bringing into the table when they're not aware of the issues themselves? We don't ingrain it in them when they are young. It's only suddenly at that summer, and then at some level it's also becoming politically correct to talk about that issue, which is a double whammy actually, because they want to be seen to be doing the politically correct thing, but really not there emotionally and physiologically with that particular legislation that we are discussing. We've seen a whole lot of these days. I think every government body has introduced spaces, safe spaces and all of that. But a large section of South Asia is far away from the sector. So at one level, I would actually, all of us in our various roles that we do would say that please reach out to the tertiary level. Whichever way you can, reach out to that level to ensure that they're aware of this. Firstly, awareness of the fact that there is different genders, their role, their scope, the respect for each genders, and it's not only about one. I don't want to do any, stick myself out here and say, because I've often found in my line of work that it's not necessarily the men who come in your way, the women do too. So it's not about one particular gender that I'm against. I'm just saying that many of us are not aware of what we could do to increase a private and safe space for each other. That's something we are so involved in our own lives, in our own spaces, that we kind of hold it tightly very much. I think it's not about breaking ceilings anymore. I think South Asia has shown the way in terms of breaking ceiling. But the point about the breaking ceiling, it's only one number percentage that we are discussing. We have to ensure that's a far more greater platform which is available for all of them. So whether at the tertiary level, at the medium level, in fact something that I've done in another role of avatar of mine is reach out to high school, reach out to university level students and just make them write about what their perception about this is, about how they see the role of a woman. The whole thing about the mother caregiver is absolutely fine. There is no contradiction in that, but they also need to be aware of the fact that there's a greater existence to that. And I think with time, and again, we've often talked about how, and I'm happy to see so much Chamber of Commerce. In India, the Chamber of Commerce that I'm dealing with, which is FICCI and CIA very often, I barely ever see a woman on the governing body. That needs a little bit of pressing. Again, I've said there has to be stakeholders there, funding issues that have to be pushed in. Of course, I mean, I deal with security studies, so having a woman there is almost, not expected. But every other level, even at the education level, most of the education bodies, governing bodies are still filled with men, which is absolutely fine. As I said, we need men to be on our side. But the fact that we are unable to provide a certain aspect because they simply do not know. It's not that they have bad intentions, they are simply not aware. That awareness creating has to happen at a much lower age. It doesn't happen when you're an adult, when you're dealing with that particular situation on hand. I would close in here by saying that there are very many ways in terms of not only, a private-public partnership has to be in place. And one thing that I've understood in some of the other ways is that while there are many organizations, this is none of all that I've said to say that there hasn't been enough work being done. There's a lot of work being done. Of course, it's a tip of the iceberg. Much more needs to be done. Again, how much of that is impacted upon? There's something that I'm trying to do in building up a modeling exercises for a different foreign policy aspect, which is very, very applicable in ensuring and seeing how these models can be also replicated on women networks, and to see what is the way and what is the piece that we are able to do. And it's all about you're changing your lives, feeling better about it, and also aspirational. It doesn't mean that everybody wants to be the CEO. That's not the aim. The aim is that you be what you want to be. That is what you is, and it's about how, and it's, as I said, it's not only the men who hinder your path, there are women who hinder your path. There are, structural issues which actually come your way, more than the gender issues. And there are many other aspects, both in the corporate, non-corporate sector, which is, again, in South Asia, I think the government sector, as I said, is a way ahead, legislation is in place. But it's really, really very little that has been done as yet, and I hope in the days to come we'll discuss this in greater details. And I really hope that there'll be greater understanding about these issues, not only within women, because we know stereotypically in South Asia it's also the women who come in your way. The society that you just referred to, Melinda, and it's something that is in our face all the time. The whole cultural paradigm in South Asia is something very, very strong. We still need to break those barriers, and we certainly need the men on our side too. Thank you very much.
A very good morning to all of you. Assalamu alaikum. Distinguished Consul General from USA and my beloved country, Bangladesh, and other guests, fellows. It's an honor to be here, and of course meeting so many women is always a happy moment, and let us celebrate that we all are here to learn and to accelerate and to see how we can move forward for empowerment. Women and empowerment goes together, and we are talking about this issue forever. And when I was thinking, and I was just coming and I was just looking at women empowerment, who doesn't know that why it is important? So they have given me a very easy topic, but it's very complicated. Because I think we women are really complicated, but not for us, for others. Because they don't understand us. They don't believe that we could be like any other human being. They don't believe that without violence, we can be their friend. They don't see us that our biological and physical appearance doesn't mean that we are not a human being, we are someone coming from Mars or some other places, which we are not. We have emotions, we have brain, we have strong body as a mother, and we nurture. We give life to this world. So when we talk about politics, I know everyone here will say, oh, politicians and politics. But actually, what is politics? Politics is to bring betterment for the people. Our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, has given birth of Bangladesh. It's a betterment for the people of Bangladesh. So we got that land, we got our identity, and today I'm standing in front of you because these politicians, who is Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, has given us this opportunity to fight for our country, that leadership. So politics is for the betterment of the people, and to see that the life changes. That is politics. And why for politicians this women empowerment, why it should be political priority? I think for any politicians who is smart, they would like to see that women empowerment comes. Because as a politician, if I talk about myself, if I can bring more women into the economic arena, what will happen? Our GDP will increase, right? And what is the benefit of if the GDP increases? Because it will help the people of my country to have higher income. And ultimately, a country like Bangladesh, India, Nepal, we all look forward to see that we all are equal in monetary basis. At least equal in food. At least I have 3 times a meal, right? I have a shelter. So reduce poverty. So that is important when we have higher GDP, with the job opportunities are there, unemployment reduces. So politicians, why they don't or why they should not work for women empowerment. And women, I always say that women are human beings, right? So it's just, as an entrepreneur, when I do a business, I need to use all my resources. If I don't make use of all my resources, I can't make profit. So in this world, if we don't use men and women who are human resources, then how much profit we can make? So the share of profit of this world could be much, much more higher, which Consul General also mentioned about $12 trillion, right? So these could happen if we could have women empowerment, if we could have more women's participation in the labor force, if we could have more women into entrepreneurship, if we could have more women into the government offices, if we can have more women into politics. So that empowerment is very, very important. And ultimately why we always say empowerment. For me, it's not only income generation. It is about my own rights. It is about human rights. Because I know Selima Ahmad was married at the age of 16 years old, being a mother at 17 years old, and completed my studies with my son, and then I started my own business. And then I founded the Women's Chamber of Commerce in 2001. I know that money matters. I know that if I was, at that time, when I was 16, and I became a mother at 17. If I didn't complete my studies, if I didn't started my own business, if I didn't earn money, my position in my family, forget about the society, forget about the world, even in my own family who is my blood, right? I would not have the respect the way I'm having now. Who am I? I'm Selima Ahmad, Member of Parliament, President of Women's Chamber of Commerce, the founder of a large company who is one of the highest taxpayers of Bangladesh. And ultimately why I have done this and why women empowerment. Ultimately we are human beings, right? We have flesh and blood. We don't want to see someone beat us. We don't want to see someone control us. We don't want to see that, I don't have any choice, the freedom of choice. It's humanity. So women empowerment is very important for any politics. And as I said, we can give all the economical status, we can give all sort of data, why it is important. And in such an enlightened, enriched group, I don't have to talk about it. But as I said that when I see women entrepreneur or a woman who is empowered, they have that equality to participate in everywhere. That's what we will look forward. That equal participation. And another thing as a woman is that control of our lives. Because if we don't have money, if we are not empowered, we don't have control over our lives. I'm having daughter, 2, 3, 4 daughters. Again you have to give a birth for a son. Because your husband wants it. Your father-in-law wants it. Your mother-in-law wants it. But what happened to my body? If I want to have another 4th or 5th child, I don't know whether it should be a girl or a boy. I can say no. Right? So that's why economic empowerment or empowerment for women is important. That control over my life, my body. I don't have to ask. I don't have to take permission. I can decide for myself. And that is empowerment. And that gives you so much happiness, I called my husband and said, oh, I'm going to Kolkata. Huh? See, I'm sharing with him. I don't have to take permission. I'm going for work, right? Or I'm saying at I remember the Ramadan time at 1 o'clock. I came from my constituency at 10 o'clock. And at 1 o'clock I was stressed up. Where are you going? I'm going for a night out with my friends. Right? So I'm just informing him. I'm not taking permission. It's my choice. That's what we want in our life. Because when our husband goes, he never says, he says, pack our baggage. For 3 days I'm staying, so we pack all our things. He never says, can I go? We feel very proud. He said, my husband is now in Singapore for a business trip. We feel very proud. So our husband should be also very proud to say that my wife is for this reason. Right? That is important. And participation equally, it's not only in family. For that economic decision, for the country, for your society, and for your family. You also need to take that decision making. So, I think if we can work on it, ultimately what is important, that violence is. Even in Bangladesh, I think long back, I think it has reduced, I hope so, that 80% women faces domestic violences. 80%, can you imagine? And how much you feel so that someone is scolding you, someone beating you, someone saying you so many bad things. Now at my constituency, it's totally village, my constituency, it's called Homnatidas. And I see how much the women are suffering. Then, man, where is your husband? He married someone. Where is he? He's living in his house. And where are you? I'm now living with my parents' house with 3 children. So, you didn't file a case? I don't have money to do so. Although Bangladesh has very strong laws, but everything costs money. And our type of country, even if you go to a police station, if you don't give money, when you do the FIR, things will be different. So then ultimately all about this empowerment, money and everything. So let us, all talk about empowerment. Because we women can make a better place. We women can make a better world. And our participation should be in this world, in this society, in the family. Not being just as a woman, but just being a human being. I always say no one can make you feel inferior if you don't feel that, right? And in democracy, we say India is a democratic country, right? Bangladesh is a democratic country. Nepal and other country. Our government says, our prime minister, our ministers, we politicians, people, we say democratic country. So, take that dialogue which our politician says, that we are a democratic country, right? So now you can say, as this is a democratic country, so democracy allows, or democracy should allow, to see that our voices are heard. So make sure that your voices are heard, and the politicians, the people, your family, the society can hear you, and you can move forward. Thank you very much.
You shared that Selima is our mentor in Nepal too, because of her extensive experience and expertise. Selima and organization, they did the whole hand-holding for our organization in Nepal. I just wanted to share, and thank you, Selima, again. Well, I would like to briefly just overview of our organization, how it came into being and what is it all about. The organization is called Federation of Women Entrepreneurs Association of Nepal, and dearly we call it FWIN, FWIN, female win, or whatever you want to say. So it was established in 2003, and we are just a very young youth, 20-year-old. We're going to celebrate our 20 years, 2 decades very soon. And we have 4 objectives to work on. The number 1 is advocacy and lobbying, which is so important for women entrepreneurship. And the second one is about the networking, which we are doing with wonderful organization right here. Outreach and work together, collaborate and things like that. And the third one is business support, where we address women entrepreneurs to promote their businesses. It could be for marketing and skill upgrade training and those kind of. So business support, and we've already established a business development center with a nominal fee. We provide very unique packages for the women entrepreneurs in various fields. And the fourth one is about the capacity building, which is never enough for women entrepreneurs to grow and be big. So this is just an overview what our organization does. And I'm here to talk about making women's leadership in economy a political priority. And we feel, in our experience, what we feel is to get the government and the policymakers' attention. It is not easy at all. And so, with our intense, drive actually to get their attention and to, listen to our, forget making the policy, just to listen to us was also a very, very big challenge. But we've come a long way, and I will share with you what we gained. Now I would like to really, I'm very much privileged and honored actually. On behalf of my organization, I would like to thank Contact Base, especially Ananya and her team. So wonderful to be here with all this vibrant energy. And also I'd like to acknowledge US Consul General. So thank you so much. American Center, and papers, agro-food products, and products made from natural fibers, handbags, herbal-based beauty and skincare products. Recognizing the need to provide additional support to promote women in entrepreneurial ventures, the government of Nepal has floated different kinds of support programs targeted at women. The most common support has been the provision of subsidized loans to women-owned enterprises. And here I am very proud to share that this program came because of the intervention and lobby and advocacy from our organization, FWE. It was a very small package loan, but nevertheless, the government, they brought it out, And earlier, support program tended to be limited to helping women establish their businesses and disregard other aspects of running businesses that women might require support in, such as providing support services to women-led enterprises, favoring them in public procurement, etc. The government always says, we should use local products and promote local entrepreneurs, enterprises. But when we really want to do it, the policy never allows to do it because they have all the very strict and very complex policies. So we've been intervening, we're encouraging them to change the policies with the procurement so that the women product are also introduced, especially in the government level, sectors. Realizing the need to facilitate women in running their businesses successfully. So since 2021, the government has started to provide business support services through local governments. However, awareness about the presence of such program is very, very limited, and we have a very big problem, access of information. They bring the project, they bring the programs, but due to the communication and information problem, there's not been access to the real people actually. Not that these issues are exclusively faced by women-led firms, as men-led ones also face the similar problem and similar predicament, especially when they are very small size. Small businesses lack sufficient access to finance, technology, expertise, and networks required to navigate business enterprises. However, women-led firms face a higher degree of vulnerability and are less likely to withstand external shocks as they have limited access to productive resources, financing, and technology. Although men-led businesses also face challenges with operating businesses, the underlying gender discrimination limits women's capabilities and access to resources to overcome these challenges. Hence, providing solution to those challenges requires looking at these issues through a gender lens as well. At the same time, policies that make doing business easier by implementing better trade facilitation measures which reduce trade costs and time will be of great help to encourage women entrepreneurs to engage in export by reducing trade costs and time. Thus, creating an enabling environment would require concentrated gendered efforts implemented by an overall improvement in the trading infrastructure. And we've been, because when you really compare the cost of the price, our product is not really competitive in costing, especially when you compare with India and even in Bangladesh, because the raw material has to be imported from the neighboring countries. And so we've been negotiating with the government to make it tax-free and more incentives to get the raw material so that the products, the price gets also very competitive prices. Well, I already got our, there's only 1 minute left, but I don't want to take so much time because we still have, one whole day and tomorrow. So we will, in the meantime, we will network and we talk, we share. Thank you so much.
Good morning to you all.
Good morning.
It's an honor to be here in presence of this dynamic group and listen to the inspiring and insightful remarks from the respected speakers who are role models in their individual fields. Key issues of today's discussion have already been covered and addressed by my previous speakers. So I will just briefly offer a few points. First of all, empowerment of women and girls is a shared responsibility. Society as a whole benefits when women are empowered and when women can contribute meaningfully to their fullest potentials for the benefit of their families, communities, and their nation. Therefore, we must adopt a whole of government and a whole of society approach to put gender issues at the center of every policy decision. Secondly, gender equality and economic growth are interlinked. And I say this from the experience of Bangladesh. Our Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina's development roadmaps with concerted efforts to ensure women's participation in every sector have helped us to achieve the sustained economic growth. As a result, Bangladesh leads in the region and also the globe in terms of women empowerment and advancement. As Bangladesh advances, we want to make sure that no one in the region is left behind. And finally, achieving gender equality is now a global target. As such, the efforts of individual countries to ensure gender equality and women empowerment will not be enough. We need gender-responsive policies at the regional and global levels, supported by genuine cooperation and adequate funding. And collaboration should not be limited to governments and policymakers only. It is equally important to engage civil society, non-government organizations, private sectors in our shared efforts. And I will stop here and thank you, Contact Base and the US Consul General for giving me the opportunity to share a few thoughts with you. Thank you all.